All right, take 2. We started it, and then we're having problems with my mic. But I think Keegan can hear me now, so.
Welcome to the Sister Sip. We already tried our drink, but you can kind of explain it a little bit.
Yeah.
We started recording, and we got to, like, tasting the drink. And then Keegan was like, hey, I can't hear Jayla, so.
Yeah.
Now we're back.
All right, today we are going to be talking about OCD / like religious scrupulosity. We'll be getting more into that later and can kind of explain that a little bit better, but it's definitely something that I have struggled with, and so I would just like to, share and talk about it and see. I think it could be really helpful to anyone who can maybe relate or maybe who is struggling with these things but doesn't really know what's going on. I think it could be really helpful. I know for me, it was very helpful for my story and my testimony to realize like what I actually was struggling with. Anyway, we'll get more into that later. So yeah, let's go ahead and try our drink.
Which we already have tried the drink.
Yes, we have.
And it was, well, should we drink it again?
Yeah, we'll try it again. It's been a messy beginning.
Spoiler alert, it's really good. Here, you should explain what it is.
It's a cherry iced tea. So I just brewed black tea, and then I made like a cherry simple syrup and mixed them together, and it's very good. Yes, you're right.
It kind of tastes
You're right. It's better than I thought.
Yeah. Jayla was kind of doubting herself, like wondering if it was really that good, but I think it's amazing. It reminds me of peach tea. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, or raspberry tea, but like obviously cherry.
Yes, I can see that. So it has
So
some of the
good.
same little hints of flavor.
I definitely think you guys should make it.
Yeah. I use sour cherries. They're kind of not in season this time of the year. I still had some. I have them in the freezer from earlier this year. Yeah. I know you can buy them at the store, though.
Oh, okay.
Sour cherries. You could probably use sweet cherries, but I feel like sour cherries would taste better because they have a little bit more of that, like,
tartness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into what's been brewing. I feel like we have a lot to catch up on.
Yes.
First, like, you went to Colorado.
Yes.
And I haven't heard a ton about it because I was kind of waiting to hear you talk about it on the podcast.
I can just go first with my life updates. Monday before we left for Colorado, I already probably told you this, but anyway, Finn and Mia got engaged. So I think I said on our last podcast that Colton and Phoebe had gotten engaged.
Which Phoebe and Finn are your in-laws.
Yes.
Like Oliver's siblings.
Yes. So Phoebe got engaged and then Finn got engaged. And the weddings are really close together, by the way. So Oliver and I think I already told you this story about taking their pictures.
Maybe.
Well,
I think I heard a little
Finn
bit
had
of it.
called me and asked if I could take pictures for them. And I was like hoping that that's what Mia would want. Because you know how some girls like don't want pictures.
Yeah, they
I
want it
was
to be
like,
really
"Ugh."
intimate.
I was like kind of feeling a little bit awkward. We both were. 'Cause, like, we don't even know. Because I wanted Oliver to go with me.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really even know if she wanted pictures. We don't want to just be there. But anyway, it turns out she really was glad we were there to take pictures and stuff. They did it at the Troy Park, which you guys probably don't even know where that is. Anyway, I had Finn's location, he had my location. I was trying to see where he was at, and I was trying to scout out a spot for him to propose. And so we were like, there's a river there, and there's like a bank.
Yeah.
So like walking along the bank, I thought we still had plenty of time. Then all of a sudden, like Oliver sees Finn's truck. We're like, oh no, like he's here.
The stress.
We were like, we're going to hide in this like big evergreen tree that had like a big gap opening in it. We see his truck, and I just go flying down the bank, running to that tree because obviously we didn't want them to see us. And I just I look so stupid. I just like completely just like wiped out, like
face planted
on the ground. Like, because I was like running so fast and going downhill, I got like so much wind underneath me.
And like you start like going like faster than your legs can go.
I was just going too fast and my legs couldn't keep up. It's like wipe out, and I'm like grabbing my stuff and like scrambling to get under the tree. And then it was like hoping they couldn't see us through the tree. I was like poking around in the tree, like looking for them. And Finn ended up seeing us, and he was like, okay, well, I'm not obviously going to go in front of the tree and propose. And so he proposed somewhere. So then he kind of like went off to another direction, and we couldn't really like see that good from the tree. So then I had to like go like creeping along.
Oh, this sounds so
trees.
stressful.
They went up on the bank. That's what
it's like
called.
a big hill.
Yeah, like a big hill. And they weren't facing me. Like they were facing like the riverside or the sky. And so I was like, I took my shoes off. I mean, I don't think they could have heard me. And like finally kind of got a decent, good spot. I don't feel like it was that great, but the pictures ended up being cute. I mean, they were from far away, but it was like.
They were cute.
They were kind of fun. They almost looked like, if you edited them right, they kind of looked more like silhouette pictures because they were like right kind of against the sun. But yeah, I was like nervous about going there because I was like, I don't know if
I know what you mean.
Pictures, but like,
'cause I've heard
she's
a lot
glad
of
I was there.
A lot of girls I've heard are like, I don't want anybody there.
Yeah,
like
and
they
I
don't really
couldn't
care about
remember.
pictures.
I was like trying to like think back to what she had said, like about her proposal, if she wanted anyone being there or not. And anyway, so that was really fun. Yeah, it was fun being there.
Oh, I'm sure. I would love, which
Yeah.
you witnessed mine too.
Yeah, I witnessed yours too, so that was fun.
I haven't
But yeah,
ever
it's fun
witnessed.
being like, if they're okay with it, it's fun having people there. And I was like, I still felt like it was intimate and private for them because I like was not gonna like come out until like
Yeah, and you
they
couldn't
said
like
something.
probably hear what he was saying.
Yeah,
like
so
that
it was
moment
like far
was
enough away. Yeah, and then I was just like, and then I think after he proposed, Finn was like, I think wondering if we were even there to take pictures, like if we had
So
even
did you
seen
like
it.
walk up to them after they got proposed to?
Well, then
like,
I think
hey,
I think
how y'all doing?
I think I saw like Finn say something to her and like start looking around or something. I was like, oh, I know they're looking for us. Like,
Yeah.
So then we like popped out. It was
That
so.
is so fun.
I don't think
Was
I,
Oliver getting pictures too?
I want to see if I can find them and post them. So
What?
I texted Oliver because we were at 2 different spots. He stayed in the like big evergreen tree,
Yeah.
and I texted him. I think I said, "Are you at a good spot?" And he. So funny. I forget what he says. I'm like, yeah, I'm at a pretty good spot. We like look at his pictures. I want to find them on his phone and
Yes.
put them on. They
Yes.
are so. There's like a bunch of greenery in there, and you know how like sometimes when you're shooting against harsh light on your phone, you have to like push it and like take the lighting down.
Yeah.
Like if there's a sun right there, it's gonna be like really bright.
Yeah.
It was like there was like blurry greenery right here, like, and then just like little like blurry people.
Think he was
It
doing
was
a good job.
I don't know if he thought he was at a good spot. I think he even realized they were really bad at the end. I have got to find them and put
That
them
would be
on there.
funny
They were so
to see
funny.
his-
It was so funny.
His engagement shoot,
Yeah.
his photography skills.
And then, yeah, we went to Colorado, and that was really fun. It was like, it
Okay,
was, I didn't,
Explain. So this was like a whole week.
yes, 10 of us,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just like camping, like
Off the grid.
off the grid, getting water from the river. We were like right by like a cold river, so we'd get water from there, like filter it to drink it. There was like a bathroom that had, it was kind of like a little bit nicer than an outhouse, I would say. It was more like a homemade outhouse, like a little bit like bigger, like a wooden
Yeah.
outhouse.
But there were no showers, right?
No showers, nothing at the campground. So it was fun. I'm like not used to camping like that. It was like
Yeah.
really fun, like with a group of people. Like, if it was just Oliver and I'd probably be like, it's not fun at all.
We didn't really grow up. Like, we grew up camping.
Yeah, camper camping.
So kind of glamping
Yes.
vibes.
And we like, it would get really cold at night. So like you would always kind of dread going to bed. You know how it is in a tent. Your sleeping bag's like cold until you like really get in there and warm
And you
it up
know
with your
you're,
body heat.
you're not going to have that great of a night's
Yes.
sleep.
Our air mattress, even though it was brand new, we like tested it at home, like blew it up at home and like put like a piano bench on it to just like put some weight on it. I don't think it really deflated.
Yeah.
Well, it deflated like we had to like blow it up in the middle of the night, like
Oh
a
my
couple
word.
times. Just
Like
to-
every night?
like the first night we didn't have it, so we didn't do it. We didn't have the little inflator thing, but then yeah, I think every night from then on.
Oh my word.
It would just be like at 2 or 3 in the morning or something.
It'd
And
be
then
like
it's like
you're-
I wouldn't want to get off or something, like kind of sleeping. So you're like still on it. It's like and you're like kind of trying to sleep. You're like feel it deflate or inflating underneath you. But our air mattress was pretty thin. Like
Yeah, I feel like
It wasn't
thick
very-
ones are better.
yes, I was just trying to get like the cheapest one basically.
Yeah.
So then it was like it was so cold if you were just like right on the ground.
Yeah.
Like and very uncomfortable obviously, but yeah, that would make it worse. So that wasn't that fun, but it was really fun. We went like ATVing.
Yeah.
Took like dirt bikes and 4-wheelers and
How were you, like, because you haven't, like, driven a 4-wheeler just a ton.
Yeah. It was, some parts were a little intense for me.
Yeah.
There was one day that like I felt like I was about to cry. I think was it the
Oh my
second
word, I can
day
so
that we
relate.
went out. First of all, I was like so sore. Like everything on me was sore. Like my wrists were sore, my thighs were sore. And then I think like this part of my arm was sore. There was something wrong that we fixed later, but I was so sore. I was already having a bad day. It was like probably the roughest day of trails. Very intense for me.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like right on the edge of a mountain, just like, all
Oh.
right. Like, and I was already like
this gives
hating
me,
it.
like-
It was
have,
really
like-
fun. I was just like really sore. And
I, like, have a fear of heights. So, like,
yeah,
being
you
by
probably
the
would
edge
not.
of the cliff. Also, what scares me is going, like, up a really steep hill or
Yeah.
down a really steep hill. It feels like you're going to lose control.
Yeah. there was stuff like that, like big rocks going down a really steep hill type of thing. You're just like popping along. I was glad that, I think Sven was telling me, he's like, yeah, sometimes like he was behind me, I think would see like, he thought I was gonna tip, like he would see like my wheels do a certain thing. I'm like, I'm glad I couldn't see myself from the back.
Yeah,
because it's sometimes if you're like looking at the person in front, you're like, oh, that looks really sketchy. But when you're like riding,
yeah,
you
just
kind of like it, like you can't really see what your wheels are doing that much. You're just like, yeah. So then I was already having a bad day, and then Riley and I had ordered like these pea cups because I thought that they would be helpful. It's like a funnel, basically.
Yeah.
That basically I thought was like, okay, you just like unzip your pants, basically like a guy, and like stick it in there.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
Yeah, and I hadn't used it yet, and Riley had, and she had told me like it wasn't as easy as you thought. Like you still have to like pull your pants down a little bit. TMI. I know she won't care. And I was like already having a bad day. Then
was that the day you like almost cried?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, someone was asking. I forget. I was like, Oliver already knew I was sore. Then I don't know if it was Colin or someone else asking about something, and I was saying like how I was really sore, and I was like about to cry, telling someone.
Your voice is like kind of shaky.
Yeah, I feel like I was about to like break down telling someone, and then we were like on a sketchy area again. I was like driving kind of sideways because it was like a big divot type thing, and I was going too fast. And then I like turn into the divot. Then I break something. I thought maybe I broke something worse. Thankfully I hadn't. So I knew my steering was off or something. Thankfully what I broke off, Oliver just so happened, it has happened at home before. He just so happened to have the parts with him. So that was really nice for him to fix. But then I had to pee. So I went up to the pine trees. I didn't know there would be a lot of trees here. I don't know what I was expecting. Like, because I was like,
open fields.
Yeah, I feel like I was expecting a lot of like rocky
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if there would like, I'm like, how am I going to use the bathroom if I don't have like a pee cup or something?
Yeah.
Because there was like obviously guys there too. So I went up to the trees and did not feel like pulling my pants down really.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like stuck my pee cup in, and I was like, I think and it was like, sorry, this is like really TMI. It was like coming out of the pee cup.
Yeah.
Then I started feeling it trickle down my leg.
No.
Inside my pants. And it was like, obviously at that point, like it's just too far gone. And then like look, and I have like a big like wet spot right here, like on the side. And it was so obvious. So I just like walked down there fixing my four-wheeler.
And that's so uncomfortable. Like the feeling of
I was already
on
just
you.
like not a great day. I like walked down and I just like basically said like, yeah, I peed myself. Because it's like, I'm just going to tell people because it's so obvious.
It's like more awkward if you try to like avoid it. Like everyone's
it was
like,
so
wait,
obvious.
did you
It was
pee?
like right to the right of, yeah. You can imagine. It looked pretty bad. Anyway, but it was really fun. We went into town one night and like got pizza, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
It was nice to have like,
I feel like you're a little bit more adventurous than me. I just don't know if I could do a whole week of camping.
it was fun. Like you probably could have with a group of people.
Yeah.
Like it was just fun. It was really fun. Just like, and there wasn't like much service down there. So it was fun. Just like not people just like being on their phones all the time and
Do you
stuff.
feel like you got a good like phone fast?
Yes.
Yes.
Then it's like once you get service, you get so many text messages. So
It's like
almost
almost
overwhelming. And it
Yeah.
feels like you're in your own little world. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, like back to reality. Like, it's like you're like living, it's like when you're camping like that, like up in Colorado, it's not really any service or anything. You just kind of feel like you're not really thinking about hardly anything else except the present.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I was talking to Mom about it when you were gone. I was like, I wonder if Jayla's going to enjoy it. Because, like, I don't know, like, a whole week long of camping. And she said something like, I feel like it's going to be good for Jayla to, like, just have a time of peace and, like, slowing down.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of, like, time with the Lord.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very, like, yeah.
Like, it's such a peaceful environment in the mountains. Like, off the
not
grid.
always, four-wheeling wasn't always peaceful. But, yeah. It was, like, breathtakingly, stunningly beautiful.
Yes, the
and
pictures.
Different areas of the mountains would look different.
Yeah.
Like, we went to this side, then we went to this side, and it was like one of the sides almost looked like Scotland, like the hills of Scotland or like Ireland.
Wow.
I don't know what. It did not look like the
like
other
kind
side.
of grassy.
Yeah, I felt it was like kind of like plains of green versus like pine trees and spruce trees type of things. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really
It
pretty.
was really fun. There was lots of like old mine stuff and old caves.
Did you get any videos? I know you.
Yes.
I wanted you to make
I
a
didn't get
reel.
as many as I wanted to.
Yeah. I know it's hard to remember.
I really hope that my film camera turned out because
Ooh.
I was like I had like taken a bunch of pictures and I used up all the film, and then I was like winding, you have to like wind it back in.
Yeah.
Then I thought I did it right. Like it stopped clicking or whatever. And then I like opened it and it was like all exposed still, and I touched it.
Oh.
And I like it kind of got jammed or something. So then I started winding it, and I hope that I put the lid back down. It wasn't exposed to light too long. I was kind of Googling it and like researching.
I don't know. I still don't know a lot about film.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Cause I'll be like, that's like, and then I had it. I mean, I took more on another roll, but like the pictures I would have liked the most would have been on that one. But I'm really excited if those turn out.
Did you send them in somewhere? Or
no, I still have. I used one roll, and then I still have like a couple pictures left on the second roll. I just need to use them up somewhere, then I can take both rolls in. I think Walmart does it, so
yeah,
it's definitely not the most cost-effective thing. So like you pay for the film, then you have to like pay to get it developed,
and then like they might not even be good.
But they're so fun, and it almost like it forces you more into getting printed pictures more than on your phone. It's like you very rarely, I feel like, think to print pictures on your phone. So there's like you instantly get the printed pictures, then you can like put them in an album.
Somebody said like film kind of helps you stay in the moment. I don't know. It's like you kind of just like can't think about. You have like one shot.
You can't see if you looked good in it or not.
Yeah.
And then a sad life update is we got back.
oh, I forgot.
We got back on Sunday, and then Toby was looking really, really bad, like so skinny and malnourished. He'd been looking that way when we were gone, or before we left too. I thought it was probably worms or something.
Your dog.
Toby,
just
okay.
For anyone.
Yes,
Keegan's saying,
dog.
tell him it's your dog.
Yes.
It's not your son that you guys didn't know about.
Yes. I thought he had a really bad flea problem, and so I was like, it's probably like worms, because I didn't get worms from fleas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thankfully he didn't die while we were gone.
Yeah,
because
he
looked so bad, and we got back and he looked horrible, and so I made a vet appointment, and I couldn't get him in till like the following, like basically a week. And I called him and was able to get him in earlier, so I took him in on Tuesday. And anyway, he had to end up getting put down. And I wasn't like so surprised because he looked so bad, but I wasn't expecting it. Like it wasn't shocking because like he looked really, really bad, but I thought it was probably worms.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And anyway, yeah, it was like really awful. Like it was better that I didn't know, because like if I like had scheduled an appointment for him to be put down, like
then you would have just like the days leading up, it would have been really hard.
I would have felt like so guilty if I wasn't with him all day, or like or like a bunch, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was still really sad. We were probably at the vet for like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. So I had, but they did a lot of like, they did like I think an X-ray and some different tests just to like rule different things out.
Yeah.
To make sure that like it wasn't worms, I guess, basically. But he was becoming anemic. I don't know. Like that's when I forget.
Something about your blood cells.
Yeah,
right?
like he was eating gravel. They said it can give them like weird cravings. The lady was telling me, and I was glad. I had like, it was like her and this, like I don't know if he was a vet assistant or, anyway, they were really, really nice. And like he got put down outside. Like the doctor lady or whatever was like asking if I, since he was an outdoor dog, like we could do it outside if I wanted to do that and whatever. And it was really,
that feels like more like peaceful and like special than just like there's like on the operating table or whatever.
And she was saying something about how she could just tell like once he went outside, like how he was happier or something, which she could have just been saying that.
Yeah.
But they were really nice. I like really appreciate how friendly they were.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's like, it is hard.
Yeah.
I think it's hard when a pet dies.
Yeah.
Because, which I feel like you were more like at peace with it. I remember like when we put our cat down. It's like, I was like crying about it. I was with Keegan's family.
Yeah.
And I felt like kind of stupid about it because no one else quite gets it. And because it's only you're really that attached to your pet. Like other people aren't going to cry about your pet being put down probably. And so it's like, it's kind of like you almost feel a little bit alone in it because it's like, okay, I know it's just an animal, but they were like a part of your life and a part of your family.
And like when you get a dog, I feel like it's just inevitable that you're going to see them die in your lifetime.
Any animal,
so,
really.
And he was about 8 years old. So, I mean, he had lived a pretty good long life for his like breed, I would say. I mean, I'm sure he could have lived probably longer, but it was good that he was at least 8. But yeah, it was sad. But that night then we got a kitten because first of all, when we got back from Colorado, one of our cats was missing. which isn't like completely surprising, you know how outdoor cats can be.
Yeah.
So we were like maybe gonna get a kitten if that cat didn't come back. And then I felt like bad for Louie because like Toby was gone and the other cat hadn't come back, and I was like sad. And Oliver was like, when I went and saw him after work. Not after work, after the vet, I went to work, and he was saying how we could get a kitten, and so I was really excited about that. And then I came home and I was like, Louie like really liked Toby.
Yeah.
I'm like, he, I was like, not to make it all sad, but I was like, he doesn't even know what just happened.
I know.
Like, he might be looking around for Toby and not even be able to find him, and the other cat was gone.
Yeah.
So we got a kitten, and I feel like it didn't even really help. It was fun, but.
Do you feel like you were kind of hoping that it would, like.
I don't know. It was more just like it takes your mind off it, but I was still just like really sad that night.
Yeah.
And
I felt like so bad for you because you were like at the vet like alone by yourself.
Yeah. And the service was so bad to like get a hold of people.
Yeah. And I kind of was like, I remember I like texted you. I was like, do you want me to like come over?
Yeah.
I felt, and then you're like, no, we have something going on tonight. I had
a meeting. Yeah. With LifeWise. Yeah.
Which Mom had texted me, and she was like, maybe you need to like.
Yeah.
She's like, I feel so bad for Jayla. Maybe you should like go over and be with her.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'd already been kind of thinking.
And
about
Oliver, like, he was sad about it too. So it was like I had him to.
Yeah.
What's the right word? Console with.
Yeah, like he understood.
Anyway, getting a new kitten has been fun, and then our other cat ended up showing up, so now we have 3 cats. We were considering getting 2 kittens because we thought maybe we only had 1 cat, and Toby was gone, so we're like, we can have 3 cats now.
Yeah. Do you think you'll get another dog?
Yes, I would like. I really want a golden retriever for our next dog, but I don't know when we'll get one.
Yeah.
Probably just like if something comes up, or like
Yeah.
once we have kids. It is nice, like with traveling and stuff. Like cats are a lot easier to have someone take care of and stuff than a dog.
For sure.
But Toby was pretty easy because he had an electric fence and everything. But yeah.
So what's the name? Everyone wants to know the name of the little kitten.
I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. You know, it's so hard to tell when they're so tiny.
Yeah.
But we just call him a him. I feel like maybe it's a girl. Bean.
Little Bean.
He's so cute.
So cute. We'll have to put a picture of Little Bean.
What has been brewing in your life?
Okay, so while you were in Colorado, I, for a weekend, went to Lake Erie.
Oh, yes.
For Mia's birthday. Just like a little 21st birthday celebration, especially because a lot of you guys were gone. Her fiance was gone, so we really wanted to do something special for her. That was really fun. It, like, kind of reminded me, like, when you live in Ohio or even, I think, a lot of areas in the Midwest, you feel like you're so far away from the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Erie wasn't just, like, the nicest ever. Mm-hmm. But, like, if we would have went to Lake Michigan, it literally does feel like a beach.
Yeah.
And we had, like, a beach day, and it was, like, white sand.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I wish I lived close to the beach. But if I just traveled, like, a few hours, I could kind of get the beach experience. Yes. It is kind of only in the summer, but that was really
in the
fun.
summers, that would be, I want to go there sometime.
I know.
Like
I hope to go to, I want to go to Lake Michigan next summer.
Yes.
Kind of. It is, I remember going one time, white sandy beaches, like clear blue water.
Waves.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
But it's like
as far as the eye could see, like the ocean kind of.
Yes. And it's not scary because it's like fresh water and like, you know, there's not anything too crazy in there.
I know.
So I want to go there.
Yeah, that trip looks really fun. I wished I had gone, but we were in Colorado, so that was fun too.
Also, speaking of Finn and Mia, I kind of got my first like big photography gig a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they're like planning a wedding really quickly, they weren't getting engagement pictures.
Yeah.
Their photographer lived out of state and it just wasn't going to work out. But they were kind of bummed about it, and so Mia asked me if I wanted to just do a quick little shoot.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, sounds fun to kind of experiment. I'm not like pursuing photography or anything. It's just like I've kind of done it as a hobby. So like people will kind of ask me here or there about stuff. And I do it for Mom.
Yeah.
Like I've done it more for like Mom and like businesses. I had so much fun.
Okay. I want you to do one for Oliver and I now.
I literally thought it was so fun. Because I took them one evening and then I was like, she needed them kind of quick. I was like, maybe I can get them done the next day or like the following day.
Yeah.
I literally got them done that morning.
Yeah. It was so fun to edit them.
I don't know. I like literally was like on a high.
Yeah.
I like called Keegan. I was like, I literally like the endorphins that were running through
wow.
my body.
Yeah.
Just from editing. I can't even explain it. So I kind of, my camera's not just like the best ever. It's not like this professional. So, I mean, not that the quality was bad, but you know, I'm used to like photographer quality when I look at like our pictures. So I feel like I kind of like embrace some of the blurriness. I enjoyed making them look kind of vintage and filmy and like kind of hazy with some of them. Yeah. That was what was so fun for me, was the editing and like making them really pretty. Yes. So I mean, not that the pictures just turned out amazing. Like, I am a beginner, but I had so much fun. I was like, wait, do I want to pursue photography?
I kind of think it would be fun for you to do like a photo shoot of Oliver and I at our property with like our kittens and stuff. That like we love like sitting on the front porch, like petting the cats. Like I think it would just be fun just for memories, like before we have kids and anything. That would just like kind of like at our house and outside and stuff. Like I think that would be kind of fun.
I think that would be. And I might have just had fun because it was friends and it was like, I know it was their engagement pictures, but still felt pretty low pressure because she was like, I'm not picky. She just wanted like at least one picture to send out with their invites. Yeah. But I was like, okay, I'm going to get more than one. Yeah. And I feel like even doing that one shoot, I'm like, oh, I feel like I could do this better. Like,
yeah, I kind of learned a little bit. Yeah.
So that was really fun. I don't know that I want to pursue. I don't have time to pursue photography. Like,
I know with YouTube and the podcast and your like actual work jobs.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I really enjoy doing business photography for Mom too. Yes. But anyways, so maybe a potential hobby / side gig.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun little. It would be fun if you could make a whole career out of like photography and YouTubing, like videography.
I know. And like work for myself.
Yes, literally like work for yourself. Yeah.
Okay, this is really random. But this morning I literally woke up to the sound. I feel like it was like my kitty maternal instincts kicking in. So we let Pepper out at night. Yeah. I was literally deep sound asleep, dreaming. And I heard this kind of like a row kind of sound. I jumped out of bed. Like I went from 100% deep sleep to like jumping out of bed, and I like opened the window and I was like, stop. My first instinct was like, a coyote has Pepper. Like Pepper's fighting. And Keegan heard it too. He was out in the living room. He was already awake. I like ran out and I was like, what was that? And he was like, I don't know. That was a weird sound. I was like shaking. Yes. My heart was pounding so fast. I think it was just like waking up in stress mode. Yeah. Because I literally was like, did Pepper just get eaten? Yeah. Like, that was my like literal thought. And I like went out.
It's like off her body.
She's like decapitated.
That's horrible. Sorry, Keegan.
And then I like went out and I like opened the door and she's just like, meow, trots in and goes to her food bowl.
Just some early morning fighting for her.
I have no idea. I'm like, was that? She didn't seem shook up because I was like, does she seem like a little like even if she just got into like a.
That's such a catfish, big meow, like nothing going on.
I literally have no idea what that sound was.
Was it not? Could something of like, could she have hurt herself and just let out like a yelp?
Well, like maybe she was stuck somewhere, like, or maybe
she could fit through the door.
I've never heard her make a sound like that. Yeah. So but I'm like, how did my like sleeping self hear that? Yeah. It made me think that I know exactly what it's like to be a mother. No, but it makes me like kind of understand how like, you know, like when moms have a newborn and then they like hear their baby like make the littlest sound and you think like, how do you just like wake up? Like they just like shoot out of bed. Yes. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Because literally Keegan's alarm will go off and I don't always hear it. Yeah. Because I think my body's just used to, he always gets up like a couple hours before me. And so, but that's funny. I just like, and then I had a hard time like calming down. Like it wasn't that I was so stressed. It was just my heart was racing. And
probably because I was like wake up first thing in the morning and have that.
Like, I like woke up in like stress mode. Yeah. But it was kind of funny. I don't know why that shook me up so much.
Glad to hear she's still alive.
Yep, she's still alive and well.
That we know of. We don't know where she's at.
She's outside fighting the neighbor cats. Who knows? Little car update. Still leaking oil. It's so annoying. We're hoping to sell it and we want to buy like we want to buy like an SUV, kind of hoping to like upgrade in
Yeah,
size
that
a
would
little
be really
bit.
nice.
So if anybody is looking for a gorgeous Volkswagen Passat
That leaks oil all the time.
Yeah, just a little oil leak. Do we have a deal for you? You can hit me up in the DMs.
Yeah.
At first I was like, because we've been talking about selling the car, because it's been having issues off and on. And I was like, yeah, we need to. But it's like, I'm kind of a sentimental person. I'm like, this car's been really nice.
Yeah.
And like obviously I want to sell it, but like it's going to be kind of sad to see it go. I'm literally like so sick
just
of it.
annoyed of it at this point. Yeah.
But at the same time, it might be a downgrade in like, I don't know, niceness. Like upgrade in size, but like downgrade, we might get an older vehicle.
Yeah, it'll be roomier. So
I
that'll
know.
be nice.
But it's like I'm used to seat heat and like a back camera.
Yeah.
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Like all those.
Yeah, hopefully you have Bluetooth.
I know. Which I think some of those things like you can install.
Yeah, I think you can.
Like I know Sydney, our friend Sydney, she got like put in like they had cloth seats. She like added in like heated leather seats. But I'm like, that's an option because cloth seats kind of gross me out a little bit. I just feel like they just absorb everything, especially like once we have kids.
I feel like mine are like stained.
Do you have cloth seats?
They're like they're cloth seats. They're not like fabric-y.
Okay.
Or they are, but they're not like
leathery
like this. No, they're just kind of like smooth. I don't know though.
Okay, I didn't remember you having them.
The front two are like kind of stained.
Anyways, that's pretty much it. I mean, anything that's interesting, I think, in my life.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and dive into our topic. I feel like I'm kind of tired and I don't like being this way. We always end up recording so late at night. I feel
know.
Like.
And you feel like your mind's not
yes,
like
I'm like,
so
all right.
Well, like, so a couple episodes ago, you kind of opened up about going through a lot of anxiety and hard times.
Very, very bad.
And you went into it a little bit, but I don't feel like, well, you didn't even fully know what was going on.
Yes.
And we didn't dive into it, like, just a ton on the podcast.
And so I have struggled. Okay, I had talked to a friend from church, kind of about what I've been struggling with, and she'd been encouraging me and stuff. And one day she sent me like this Instagram post, that, like I forget what she said, like, this blessed my day, thought it might bless yours too, or whatever. And so I like was reading the Instagram post. It was like, you know, like, what's it called when you scroll through like
a slide?
Yeah, well, a slide of like paragraphs, words, whatever.
Yeah.
Slide of words. They were like really resonating to me. I'm like, wow, I really relate to this girl. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll find it and post it, whatever. And so I was like, wow, yes, I felt a lot that way too, like kind of like relating to this. And so I started reading like the comments on this post. Because it's interesting to read the comments and like see what the conversation are. And then I like, excuse me, was like seeing people talk about, I think like OCD, religious OCD. I was kind of looking on her page. And Kirsten, Keegan's mom, had thought maybe I was struggling with religious OCD just because Keegan and you guys had kind of talked to her about what I was struggling with after I was here that one night for that podcast episode. But I was like, no, I don't think it's OCD because I've had OCD before and this felt like different.
Because it was like spiritual. Which,
yes.
Do you want to get into like, or are you going to get into it later? Like how you were feeling or like what? I
think the reason it's like it kind of can be hard to decipher. Like it felt so much like a spiritual attack. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but I don't think you can completely say that like, oh, it was a spiritual attack. It was all just like Satan, this and that.
Yeah.
But
so
what exactly
like so like what exactly was it? Like talk about like some of your thoughts or like what triggered this or like.
So I was feeling very I think I kind of explained it on that podcast episode. Super, super anxious about evangelism, like feeling the need to have to go and evangelize to everyone everywhere I went, like feeling personally responsible for their salvation, because like what if God, like I was the person that God was supposed to use to like plant the seed in someone's life, and if I wasn't doing that, then like they like if I didn't do that, then like they missed their opportunity
and they were going to hell because of you kind of.
And I knew that wasn't true. Like I know that that's not true. Like, oh, I'm not responsible for people's salvation, but it was all just like, well, but like it does take people to go and spread the word. Like, anyway, so I looked on this girl's Instagram page and like she had struggled with religious OCD before, like scrupulosity. And then I saw So I was kind of like doing like some research on that, I guess, and like looking into some different stuff. What really, really helped me, and I want to give him the credit, was this podcast. I had seen it like on these pages and people had recommended him. Yeah. It's called Mark DeJesus, and I will like, can we link his podcast or whatever? He's a YouTube channel too. I like listened to one of his podcast episodes and I felt like it was just like a short one, I think, about spiritual OCD. Just like quickly explained it or whatever. I could link that one maybe because it might only be like a 15-minute listen. His whole ministry is like, he struggled with OCD, and his like a lot of his ministry is about like mental health and stuff within Christianity. But like listening to his podcast, I guess I want to say as a disclaimer that I've not been like medically diagnosed with OCD. I'll just say that. Haven't been medically diagnosed with OCD, but like I resonate so much with it that I'm like, yeah, I know that's what I've had, and I've had it in the past. And I feel like the Lord used his like this guy's teachings and stuff so much to heal me. Mm-hmm. Like I was just like, oh my word, it felt like the biggest relief ever. Like just was like like putting a term to what I was struggling with, because I was like, what I feel like it
takes the weight off of it, and it's like, oh, I'm not just alone in this. Like this is actually a struggle in the world. You're not just like actually being so spiritually attacked, which I think Satan can use this. Yes, but it's like it goes even a little bit deeper than that, where it could be a little bit medical.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of start. I wrote a lot of notes on this earlier. A lot of like what I'm going to be sharing is a lot of stuff that like through listening to his podcast, I was reading some of his book. I'll kind of go through that. I feel like he basically was like putting to words what I was feeling. Yeah. If that makes sense. It was like he was putting words like, I'm like, yep.
That brings so much freedom.
Yes. And so like, and his like a lot of something that he emphasizes, like it doesn't matter. Like people struggle with it differently, but like the key things are like all the same, and like the key ways to get better are all like the same. Like even though if you like might struggle with it in a different area, like the tendencies and like things are the same. So like, okay. Anyway, here's kind of some of my notes I'll just read off of, but I feel like OCD is way more than just cleanliness. And I feel like that's like,
I feel like OCD is almost kind of a joke. In society, it's like, oh, I'm so OCD, like just being a neat freak.
Yes, like wanting things to look perfect, like wanting your house to be like sparkling clean, like
which that could probably become unhealthy.
I'm not saying that people aren't that way, but like OCD is not like, if that's all the OCD was, like, okay, wow, things have to be clean all the time. Like that would be very easy, I feel like. But anyway, OCD is obviously way more than just cleanliness, and it can be a very tough, depressing, anxious battle. I'm just kind of reading some of my notes. I wrote these a long time ago, but yeah, it's kind of nice to have them all written down already, because I knew I wanted to talk about this on the podcast. But yeah, like Mark DeJesus' podcast were so enlightening, and like the Lord used him so much in my life to reveal like so much stuff in my life and bring me like so much freedom. Like I feel like I could have like to use the term leaping for joy, but like I could have used that term. Like,
yeah, wow.
Just like, it's not that all of a sudden I was better, but like it just brought like all of a sudden I felt like it was almost like having a counselor, but like, does that make sense? It was like, listen, I feel like I'm doing such a bad job explaining this. I'm like choking all over my words.
It's okay. You might just have to like kind of slow down.
I know. I feel like I'm like, there's like so much stuff. I don't really know how to like break it down into like different points yet. I have some points on here, and I feel like I was a little bit like scared to talk about this, because I really don't want like someone to judge me as not like knowing what I'm talking about. I kind of felt that way at first, just when I was talking to people about this.
And it's a topic that not a lot of people understand. And when it's spiritual, especially, I think it can be kind of hard for people to understand, because at first it did feel like 100% just a spiritual attack. And so you had like a lot of people that were like, wow. And then to be like, well, it's not even quite that. It like kind of maybe takes away some of the spirituality, and like almost like you're removing God from it. That doesn't have to be the case.
But at the same time, like your mental health and like the way you view God can be so like
intertwined.
I have that in my notes. It can be so intertwined that it's like you do kind of need to realize what's going on. And like I wish, which I'm so glad that like the Lord revealed this to me, but like something that Mark talked about is like something can be like it can be almost, I don't know if I should say make it worse, probably, if you are really struggling with spiritual OCD and someone doesn't notice that in you, like a pastor or someone, and so they just like keep praying for you and keep praying that the spiritual battle will go away from you, but like they don't realize that like, oh, this is actually like a mental health thing. Does that make sense?
And that's like not necessarily their fault.
Not their fault. Yes.
But that's almost like why we want to bring awareness. It's not that like sometimes it really is just a spiritual battle.
Yes.
But maybe like this can kind of help you to see the signs in yourself or in other people that like, oh, maybe this is like something a little bit different.
Because some things, like when I would talk to people, not their fault at all, because they were just trying to do what was right. They didn't really know what was going on, probably. It's like some things they would say, they were all good things, but it would like almost spiral me down worse because I was like,
just being
I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to put anyone down, and like people were really there to help me. And so I'm not like trying to be negative to like what people said. Like they were literally like saying things to encourage me, and like,
and they were saying like true biblical
things.
It
wasn't like, but it was like it wasn't there for like, but it was like making me feel so much worse.
I'm trying to think of like an example, maybe not like a specific one, but let's say you are struggling with feeling the need to go and be friends with somebody, okay? And it is just like tormenting you. Obviously that's like a good thing maybe, but let's just say it's like in an unhealthy way where you feel like you're gonna go to hell if you don't go talk to this person, and you like open up to somebody and they're like, I just feel like you have such a heart for for like reaching out to this person, like God is just using you to go reach out and like be friends with this person. And then that's just kind of okay.
Especially if they see like a pattern of that in your life, of feeling like really anxious about stuff like that.
And then that could make you, or somebody saying, okay, this is maybe a better example, which this is just kind of what I've learned from you. It's not like I personally have went through this, but somebody, I think a really common thing is saying like, I felt like this can be a little dangerous, and I have to be careful saying this because I think the Lord can speak like this, but like saying, I feel like God told me, or the Lord, the Spirit has told me to tell you this. Like, how are you going to argue with that?
Yeah, that is something that I have, kind of a topic that I've recently learned. I'm going to link, or I'll send them to you, some resources and stuff that have a lot of good information on this, and like a lot of like good thought processing things, like Emily Traversary and like Mark DeJesus's podcast and YouTube. But yeah, she, like Emily, she had posted something about that, and it was like, I think something along the lines, it's like, you can't, and I know, it's kind of nervous talking about this because I feel like there's people that are going to disagree, but like, I guess I'm just offering a different perspective because you might not see another side to this. But you cannot, just because just because someone tells you, hey, God told me to tell you this, does not mean that God actually told them to tell you that.
Yeah.
And someone who struggles with OCD, especially me when I was in that really, really bad state, if someone had come and told me that, like, you'll just take it as complete gospel.
God told me that like you should like evangelize to people.
God told me you just like, you should do da-da-da-da-da. Then I would be like, all right, 100%, that was a sign. Because you're already such on edge and like such looking for signs. I feel like that's how I was. Anyway, let me just read through these real quick.
Okay.
There's like, I hope this isn't like overwhelming anyone. I think once I get into my notes more, like there's going to be more like, I won't be so much jumble, hopefully. If you do struggle with OCD/religious OCD, that you talk to someone who has experienced it or has a great understanding of the psychology of it and how it relates to our view of God. Unfortunately, we can spiral worse sometimes if we don't get the right help, even if it's met out of good intentions, which is kind of what we were talking about. Even reading the Bible while we have an obsessive distortion in our mind can cause us to spiral. And that was so true for me. It was like I was almost becoming anxious to read the Bible. Like I was going through Psalms, which are like pretty calming. I feel like, talking about like battles and like going through seasons and the Lord delivering you. And I was like really anxious to start reading the Bible outside of Psalms once I was done going through Psalms. But I was scared to read it because I was so scared to see like verses about evangelizing and ministering. Because it was like, make me feel so much worse. Like, yep, it's right there in the Bible. Like
trigger you even more.
Yes, trigger me even more. We all have different journeys and struggles in life, and obviously we won't all be able to relate with someone who has struggled with something unless we like walk that path ourselves. I feel like that's kind of true to a lot of things. Like you're never going to be able to completely relate with someone unless you walk that path ourselves. Of course we can still like pray and encourage those people, but a big stigma with mental health in the church, I believe, is that they're always two completely different things. Like walk with Christ is one side, and then like on the other side is like your mental health, like struggle with anxiety and depression. that kind of stuff. I guess that's how I feel sometimes. It's like people don't, it's like, oh yeah, God is our hope and Jesus is our hope. And then you're like struggling with anxiety and stuff like on the side with something else. And you don't understand like how that can like, because for me, like how that can like so much view the way or affect the way that you view God.
Yeah.
But in reality, our mental health struggles can directly affect the way we view God in life. So OCD has 7 ways that these things all kind of work together when you have a compulsion. And OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. So like a compulsion is, I would say, would be like a very strong feeling and need to like do something right away.
And I've heard it, which maybe you're going to get into it, because I was trying to like learn about it as somebody who hasn't struggled with it a ton. It's kind of like you have an itch that you constantly need to scratch. You're like, and then you like you just like get this thought in your mind and you always need to like relieve it.
Yes. One is like just right, but never enough. If you have OCD at all, I feel like you will relate to these things. Like, I feel like no matter what problem it is, it's like, yep, just right, never enough. But what if? So true. So like, but what if? Like, I know that I'm not responsible for people's salvation, but like, what if? Like, what if I was the person that was supposed to like go and like pray for this person, and that was going to be like the seed planted in them to then like.
And people would be like, well, no, the Bible actually says this. Like, you aren't responsible for their
salvation.
But
what if? Yeah. But what if? Very uncertain and fearful. Distorted interpretation and meaning of my thoughts. Very true. Like, if I had this thought pop in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe that means that, like, I'm supposed to go and do this, like, type of thing. Feeling a need to compulse on them and fix my thoughts, which is, like, doing something to fix those thoughts. Overestimating threats of what could happen. If I don't go and pray for this person, if I don't go and evangelize for this person, they're going to go to hell because of me.
Yeah.
A huge weight of responsibility. Yes, like I felt just like, and I still like struggle with this, but like a huge, like I feel like personally responsible for all these people. Identifying feelings and emotions. When we have anxiety, we can try to feel our compulsions. We can try to feel our compulsions to make it go away, or, sorry, I don't know what I meant to write there. Or avoid fearful places that can make us anxious. Guilt can come across as love in our life, but it's really serving a feeling of guilt. That one, like, really, like, am I actually genuinely loving these people, or do I just, like, I'm doing it out of guilt? And that's something even now I have to check myself when I'm, like, feeling obsessive about something. I'm like, am I doing it to actually make the situation right, or am I only doing it to make myself feel better? Because I feel like generally a lot of these things that I was struggling with was like, oh, if I go and do this, then I'll, like, feel better. I won't feel like this guilt right away. Like, not out of like actually genuinely like helping someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
OCD, they're thoughts of disturbance that we obsess over. We follow what fear is telling us to do. We're driven by the spirit, not understanding being driven by the spirit versus led by the spirit. And that one really like struck home to me, that phrase, like realizing, because, like, I feel like you're led by the Spirit, not driven by the Spirit. Does that make sense? He's
not, like, forcing you into these corners.
So, like, just, like, thinking about these things. We don't have a good understanding of unconditional love and grace from God, and that's a big thing that Mark talks about, and, like, I identified with that a lot. I feel like something that I was really struggling with, too, was the idea if I didn't do these certain things, that I was sinning, and by sinning that I was going to go to hell. So I was like, because, you know, it's in Romans or Corinthians, it'd be like, I forget what verse it is, about like he who knows what the right thing
to do and he does it not.
Like to him it is a sin or whatever. And I was like taking that verse out of context.
Yeah.
Like if I know I'm supposed to be doing something and then I don't actually do it, like what if this was a call from God to go and like stop and do this and I didn't do it? Well, now I have sinned and like now I could go to hell.
Yeah.
And like not understanding like God's unconditional love and God's grace. Like, so, I'm almost done talking about this thought, but he described it as feeling as if your salvation is like a thin, like piece of glass, basically, that like if you mess up, that can just shatter.
Yeah. And obviously we know, like, that's not who God is. That's not, like,
if we make one slip up,
God,
you're not like going to go to hell because of that. Like, you have a relationship with God. I mean, that doesn't mean that you can just go on sinning, but like God loves you so much. He's like so much love, so much grace. It's not like, oh, you messed up right here. Like, yep, salvation's taken away. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And I think that's a big thing when I was researching scrupulosity is people feeling like they lost their salvation. And I feel like I've seen that even in other people's lives, like constantly rededicating their lives,
getting resaved, getting rebaptized, which can be very unhealthy.
And obviously, this is like a very specific thing. So like there are certain times where like it might be an appropriate time to rededicate, especially if you've really strayed.
Through a long season of just like,
But I think sometimes like you can see that pattern in people where they like, and I think it's like they constantly need to like relieve their conscience and be like, am I still saved?
And it's sad that I think a lot of churches feed that idea too. Like if someone is coming and asking you to be rebaptized, you should generally ask them like, why do you feel the need to be rebaptized? Because if they're just doing it because they're not sure if like it was legitimate the first time, like that's not a good reason. You're just like, you're overthinking it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, perfect love casts out fear verse. That's like one of my favorite. I think it's on my screensaver. Nope, that's not my screensaver. There's therefore no fear in love. Perfect love casts out all fear. Okay, yeah. He said this was like, I guess I keep saying this is a lot of Mark stuff, and I only am saying that to give him credit, I guess. One thing that I have OCD about is plagiarism. I have had that before, and I feel like basically my OCD has flared up a lot recently.
Okay.
Because of like, it's like it got better than like when I realized I was struggling with this, and I feel like all this other stuff was kind of flaring up.
Okay.
And I'll get into it. Which I have. This could be literally a 2-part podcast because I feel like I'm not even going to get through all my notes. But yeah, I'm like, he said this. This wasn't my words. Like,
like feeling the need to like give credit.
Yes. Oh, that is a big one for me. And that like, it was like that for me earlier. Like I've struggled with that particular thing before. Then I feel like it got better. But yeah, 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, for fear is to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. Like that's such a good reminder when you're feeling that way of like super condemning to yourself. Like God is not a God of like fear. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like his love should not lead you to fear. I mean, there's a healthy fear of God.
Yeah.
We can get to that, but that's like, not, this is not like,
not a healthy fear.
Yes. Realizing that I was struggling with spiritual OCD, I was realizing, like, looking back to a lot of stuff in my childhood that I didn't realize was spiritual OCD. Like, there was one time in school, I've already talked about it, I think, and I'll talk about it again real quick, that I was like, oh, that was, like, definitely OCD.
Yeah.
But there wasn't, like, I didn't relate a lot of this other stuff to that back then. So this is going to be kind of my testimony with it. When I was younger, I always, like, felt this need to confess to my parents when I sinned, not realizing that Jesus already paid the price for our sins, and we don't need to confess to someone else for everything. Like, we can confess to the Lord. And what I mean by that is, like, I felt the need to, like if I had, like, maybe seen something I wasn't supposed to see, like, I need to go and tell my parents. It wasn't like, oh, I've hurt my parents, I need to go and ask them for forgiveness since I, like, talked bad to my mom or something. It was, like, I felt like this need to, like, go and tell them every time I had sinned. And I had to realize back then, it was like, what would be the point for Jesus dying on the cross for our sins if we just, like, went and confessed every single little sin to someone? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, God literally, like, we can talk to him. Like, there is definitely something great about, like, talking to people about struggles and sins, but you don't have to, like, every little sin or, like, a bad thought you had, it doesn't mean you have to go and tell someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is, like, that's probably, like, the earliest point that I can pinpoint it in my life.
Yeah. And you probably felt like if you didn't talk to them, then
like I had to get off my chest,
or else like maybe you were continuing to sin by not telling them.
Yeah. Like, or just like, I feel like I've grown up a lot of my life feeling that like my salvation being like less than like thing, like, cause like if I don't do this, like I might go to hell or whatever, which sounds really, really deep, but I feel like a lot of it was probably rooted in that fear. Having a super sensitive conscience, I know it can be a good thing. A lot of people say it can be a good thing, but it was like one of the hardest things. Like, it was causing me to live under a view of condemnation and living under the law, and like not living
in God's grace and freedom.
God's grace and freedom in that, because I feel like I was just so like. There is something, because sometimes I'm like, it's hard because everyone has different consciences, but like there is something unhealthy about having a really sensitive conscience, I think. I don't think, sometimes people are like, oh, that's like, oh, you just have a sensitive conscience. Like, you don't understand. Like, it can be absolutely horrendous, horrible. Like, it's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sometimes you take it like way too far, and like the thoughts are just gonna like fester.
This is another, I think, a pretty common one, so I'm going to share it. But struggling with weird sexual intrusive thoughts / blasphemous thoughts, and thinking that was so incredibly odd for that, and just like so strange. And like I remember thinking like, well, maybe I'll just like never get married because like I'm just have this weird thought. And I've like, as I done research, like that's a pretty common one. It can be like blasphemous thoughts towards God while you're sitting in church. I think I struggled with that. And
I know I haven't. Sometimes I feel guilty like bringing it up because I haven't like totally walked through this, but I think intrusive thoughts, I think literally every human deals with it, because I've even had it where I'm like,
it's like not like I'm trying to like, it's just like this weird thought will come in your head.
And like sometimes, and it's a lot of times the things that you fear the most, like blaspheming God, like that is something like you would never want to do, so you're almost like, don't do it, don't think it. Yeah, it can be like really bad thoughts sometimes. You're like, wait, am I like a nasty person? Another one was like, so I used to always like wear a braid in my hair right here, so I would like braid my hair almost every day, and if I ever thought like a blasphemous thought or a bad thought while I was in the middle of braiding my hair, I feel like I had to like take out my braid and redo it. That's like crazy. I know, but I feel like if you have OCD, you'll understand. Yeah.
That's like, sometimes it's can be vulnerable to share this stuff. I know now enough that this is like something that people struggle with, so I'm not really that embarrassed to talk about it. But like if you don't struggle with it, you're probably like, what in the actual world? Like that is so crazy. But I would feel like, I don't know if almost like there was just like something.
Do you think it was like a little bit of like punishing yourself?
No, I think it was just superstition, honestly.
Interesting.
I almost like think of that's probably kind of what it was. Just kind of like thinking.
Like it undid the thought by undoing your braid?
No, but kind of like you were just like doing something, like you were like thinking something bad while doing your braid, so like it's not clean or something.
Okay.
I feel like
braid is...
I think that's probably what I'd reach. And it would take me so long to do my hair sometimes because it was like I have to rebraid.
That is so crazy to me, because that would have been like when I lived with you, and like I never knew that was going on.
No.
That makes me kind of sad that you were like kind of alone in that.
Well, you and I would make fun of me. So.
I know. Well, and I was probably not like emotionally mature enough to like, I'd be like, okay, that's weird. Don't think that.
Yeah.
Whereas like sometimes you have to like grow in maturity to be able to like handle other people's emotions.
Another one was, I had like done my own, like, you know how it talks about in 1st or 2nd Timothy about not braiding your hair and wearing jewelry, and like people interpret that differently. Anyway, I was like, just in case it does mean that we're not supposed to braid our hair, like, because I didn't feel like it was wrong to do that really, but I was like, just in case and I still feel like this to this day, it's just a weird old habit. I would not go to bed with my hair braided, because if I died in the middle of sleep, like what if I went to hell, like type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, it was like, because you're, like, sinning. Mm-hmm. And then it's, like, if you think about it, like God's going to sin. Like, that is not God's character at all. Like, God does not just, like, nope. Like, you know what I mean?
Wow,
but just feel like I was being disobedient, because it was, like, you're conscious in the daytime. I didn't really feel like it was wrong. Like, I was like, well, but what if? You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, another one was, I kind of already talked about that, being scared to drive because of intrusive thoughts a little bit. I feel like I felt a little bit that way. Like, because, some you're like, oh, I could just, like, do this or that. Like, and then you're kind of like, what in the world? Like, why did I have those thoughts?
Semi.
Another, like, just, this is more of an OCD thing, not a spiritual OCD thing. I, like, went through a season of, like, these are just, like, weird things. Like, walking around a store, I would, like, have to go and, like, re-walk over an area because I feel like I put a dent in the ground.
Oh,
type of thing.
I did not know.
No, you probably didn't know any of this. Like, it wasn't like it was always this way. I feel like you just like there would like just be like a season of something. So you like walk around like I feel like I felt like I put like a little like dent or like something like uneven in the ground. So I just need to like go walk over it again.
Wow, that sounds like that. It's really like weird. Sounds awful.
Yeah,
to have those thoughts.
This is a pretty common one. Washing your hands excessively. I feel like that's really common with OCD. They went through stages of doing that. Great fear of offending people and being offended. I still struggle with that. Like, really, like, do not want to offend someone, and I'm scared to be offended because I'm like, what verse is it in Matthew about if a brother offends you to go and talk to him?
Oh, so you're scared if you get offended, you're gonna have to go talk to him.
And it was like usually like I feel like. Because I feel like that verse is talking about, like, a great offense where it's, like, you can't, like, you need to, like for your relationship. But I felt like if someone did offend me, like all this, like it, like what the worst part of it was, like if they said something that was kind of annoying or offensive, the worst part of it was me feeling like I had to go and like talk to them and confront them about that, even though it's like forgiveness comes very easy to me.
Yeah.
Like I can forgive very easily in my heart, but I felt like, and I still struggle with that sometimes, but so I've really never actually confronted someone. I mean, maybe once or twice, but like not really about someone actually offended me, because I've never really been deeply hurt by someone. I feel like that's more what it's talking about, but more just this feeling of like, oh, like they said something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, oh, am I supposed to go and talk to them about it?
In reality, you could probably be like, that was annoying, and then move on and not really
It's very
think
easy
about
for
it
me
again.
to like forgive and stuff. Or some people are just annoying. Like, okay, they always just say annoying things, whatever. We're not that good of friends anyway.
Yeah.
You know, type of thing, whatever. Huge fear of plagiarism. I kind of already talked about that, especially in just conversation, even saying something that wasn't directly from my own thoughts or conclusions.
Wow.
I remember one
never
time,
thought
like
of that.
on my birthday party, like feeling so much guilt. It was like my 16th birthday part. Was that when I did the 50s party? I was really struggling with it. And like I went to farmer's market and someone had told me about something about how it had been like a good day of business. I was just coming there to take down or something. So I hadn't really been there most of the day. So I heard like business was good. Then someone asked me like, oh, was it good today? I'm like, yeah, business was pretty good or something. And I was like, oh, that wasn't actually, like, I didn't come to that own conclusion of myself. And I like felt like so much guilt on the way home because of that.
Oh, wow.
I feel like you don't know a lot of this.
No, I've not heard a lot. Like, you told me about the braiding hair, and obviously I know, like, your recent struggle. But
yeah.
Wow, that's, like, so hard. Like, heavy if you really think about those thoughts going through your head.
Looking for signs and everything, and if it's a sign that leads to fear, I make up another sign that brings relief to that idea. So that's the thing of just, like, oh, if this like, little signs, like, oh, if I pass this mailbox and the flag is up, that means that this or that happens. Oh, if I pass like this house and I see someone in like a black shirt, just examples, that means that this, and then like something that would happen. You're like, oh no, confirmation.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. So then I instantly think of a sign like, okay, if I see this happen, then that means that actually was false. And then I'm like, fine.
Oh, yeah.
That is like, and that's a bad thing to do, because
Yeah.
that's not like, I don't feel like that's how God speaks.
And I feel like it's kind of testing God. I think
it is.
There are some instances, I've heard some testimonies where God has spoken like that.
And I feel like that's more supernatural things.
Yeah. I feel like those are more exceptions than it being the norm.
And one thing, and I was like struggling with that a lot. One thing I thought about, I'm like, these are not from God, because one thing that you know these aren't from God, because I could say like, oh, if I see this happen, that means I'm supposed to kill myself. You see that happen. It's like, well, duh, obviously that's like completely unbiblical.
God's not calling you.
But like making up that in my head, so it kind of like proves the point that things that you see as signs aren't actually signs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. And I've heard people with OCD tend to have eating disorders, and I think that was something that I struggled with. Just like, and I can struggle with that. Not even just eating disorder, but like something that I like, what started off as like trying to eat healthy, like I feel like did turn into an eating disorder because I was so obsessed with it. Like, because you can like, it can be probably a good thing, because like it's easy for you to like stick to a good healthy routine sometimes, but like if you're like obsessed with like eating, like, I don't know, not eating gluten or something or dairy or something, then it can become to the point that you're like obsessed with it, where it's like it becomes very unhealthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, something else, I don't know if I want to share this or not. I'm trying to think, because I don't want people to think. Should I just say it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I guess we can always, no, I'll share it. I don't know how old I was, but I struggled with thinking like maybe I was gay, even though I did not have like any.
Okay. That, once again, because I kind of understand that too. It's like this fear of like, what if?
It wasn't like, it was more just like, oh, like what if I like thought this girl was really attractive type of thing. It's like, wait, what if? And I had like no desire. Like, I am attracted to men. Like, I do not want to be like, there's no desire of me if like it wants to be in a female relationship or anything. But I don't know what age it was. I was like, wait, what if I'm gay? Like, what if I like, did that like seeing that like make me feel like a certain type of way? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then like I remember feeling like, oh my word, like, and almost like feeling uncomfortable to be around my friends, because I was like, what if they knew that I like had like, and then I probably had these weird intrusive thoughts.
Yes.
That were like nothing I actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I guess I am, yeah. I'm fine with sharing all this, because it's like, I want, if someone has ever struggled with this, like, I want you to know that you're not weird and alone in this. Like, 'cause when you don't know, like, when you are struggling with it and you don't really know that it's OCD, it can, like, you, like, think something's, like, really, very deeply, like, perverted and wrong in you type of thing.
When it's not. And once again, like I keep saying
Yeah,
this.
probably everyone's had like a weird intrusive thought, like maybe about like being gay or something.
Yeah.
Like, but I also like since I had that thought, it's like, wait, am I like actually like, you know what I'm saying? Now it has been in ministry. While it is something I'm so passionate about, it has also made me spiral and cling on intrusive thoughts and fear, and also think down on other believers think down on other believers because if God was calling me to this huge calling, why wasn't anyone else?
Yeah, I remember seeing that in you because you were like, I feel like I'm the only one who's like trying to evangelize. I feel like now I don't see other Christians around me trying to evangelize, so now I guess I'm just responsible for the whole world.
Mm-hmm. And like, why is God calling me to this and like no one else?
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's not really very true. I'm gonna try to wrap up here. I'm just gonna read through a couple more like things. Okay, so there's this book called, I feel like the name sounds really cheesy. I haven't actually went through it because I got the audiobook version of it, and I really wish I would have got the paper or like the actual book version of it because it has questions and stuff for you to fill out. But I haven't even read the whole book, but I'm gonna go ahead. I guess I'll recommend it because a lot of his other teachings like were so very helpful to me. But this is from his book called The OCD Healing Journey by Mark DeJesus. But I'm just going to read through. These are like some notes I took while listening to the book. We can tend to overshare unhealthily and be obsessed with people knowing our issue. I definitely felt that way, like especially once I felt like freedom. It's like, okay, everyone's got to know about this, like, yeah. And that's like a common thing with OCD people. Following compulsions to give you an instant moment of relief, but they're very short-lived. Following them only makes the issue grow. So like if I like feel like I'm driving by, oh, what if I'm supposed to go and pray for this person? I go and pray for them. Like instantly I feel so much relief. Mm-hmm. But then like as soon as I start driving again, like I'll probably like feel something like
then there's this other person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rituals and daily routines are normal, but for the OCD, they do it out of a deep disturbance and can be very repetitive, which is kind of like what I was talking, like the whole thing about me like walking around the store and like feeling like I need to like go over spots again and rebraiding my hair.
Yeah.
Compulsions are a way of avoiding the true fear and guilt. We avoid areas and situations so we are not triggered by anxiety and guilt. Kind of like me. I still feel this way. I still avoid a lot going into stores and stuff because I'm just, it's gotten better because I've been like forced into going into areas, especially at gas stations and stuff on the way to Colorado. Yeah. But I still like to avoid those areas. We have a deep fear of evil, like in watching end times movies. Remember how I was that way growing up about like don't like to watch anything like that. We have to recognize it as OCD, otherwise we can justify it all day long. Yeah. Just how like, oh, but it's just because of this or that, or oh, it's because of this or that. Like, no, it's actually like there's something going on here that's not healthy. We have to be teachable, see healing and getting better as like a journey and not a quick fix. That was like a note for myself because it's like you're not going to get instantly better. Like, yeah. That's a lot of like thought patterns and a lot of things that you really have to like work through. Learn how to experience, I don't know what it says. Practice the safe love of God to myself. Maybe that is what I wrote to Matt to write. Like learn how to experience the love of God and the grace of God. Because like you can constantly, especially with like spiritual OCD, be in a state of condemning yourself all the time.
And feeling like God's just there with his like rod ready to strike you.
Yes, like learn how to experience like just the grace and the love of God and like reflect on what he's done, reflect on the love of like him in your life and stuff. And like he's not like this mean guy just about to beat you down like as soon as you mess up. And you have to learn to starve your compulsions, learn to be loved. That's like the hardest thing. Learn the OCD. I don't know what I'm trying to write. What I'm trying to write here. Something about, I think I was trying to write. Sorry. I think I was trying to write. To learn that OCD can be a calling for us to dive deeper into God's love for us. Because it really forces you into doing that. Yeah. Like, which is good. And we have to be equipped to work through thoughts when they arise. The problem is not the problem. That's a really big thing. Realizing the problem's not the problem. When we focus on our one problem so intensely, we miss the reason we're feeling that way. Like, why am I feeling that way? Like, what's making me feel like I need to do that? Like, we need answers right away to our obsessions. And 5 things we need to learn is how to experience unconditional love, the love of God the Father, getting rooted in God's grace, practicing love and compassion. This sounds like probably cheesy, but it's true. Practicing love and compassion to yourself. Yeah. And experiencing the healing power of nurture, like from God especially. Like,
yeah. That's really good. Yeah. I think a lot of people do struggle with that.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes, self-love, but like, I started with OCD, it's like so much condemnation on yourself sometimes, and like feeling like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's like you have to realize like sitting and resting in God's grace and love for you. Like just starting there. Ingredients that like fuel this, like OCD and stuff, are unrealistic standards, a poor relationship with our feelings, black and white thinking, focusing on rules and doing and miss the relational heart connection, a loud inner critic, anger issues, major control issues, disdain for flaws and mistakes, fear of failure, a struggle to receive feedback, a life of constant fixing and editing. Very true. 2 Corinthians 6:12 says, you are not restricted by us, but you are restricted in your own affections. We shame ourselves. We justify our obsessions and compulsions. We need to get our full story out. You separate your OCD from your spiritual life. You view your OCD battles as unique and rare. You want a quick fix, having an emergency mentality. And how can I get rid of these thoughts and feelings? And I didn't write the 10th one down. And one thing that I was like interesting as I was reading through the Bible, I saw it twice as I was reading through the Bible in the New Testament recently. The verse in the Bible that it talks about it a couple times, but it talks about, I forget what book of the Bible it was, but it was saying something about like giving. And it said, I sent you the verse, didn't I? It was something about like not under compulsion, but out of a cheerful heart or something. And then there was something else later on that I was reading that said something kind of along the same lines about like not doing something under compulsion. I was like, that's so interesting that it's in the Bible. Like just like that exact word even, because it's like
God wants us to do it out of our like love for him. And not just like, oh, I have to do this because so that I'm a good person or so that God doesn't strike me down.
And it's a good thing for me to like when I'm feeling really OCD about something, like I was like, wait, is this like, am I doing it under compulsion? Because if I am, like, you got to starve those out. Or am I doing it out of like actually like wanting to do this? And one thing that I'm struggling with and trying to navigate, because I've learned so much of like how God actually speaks to you and how His Holy Spirit actually speaks to you, because I've had that so wound out of like unhealthily out of my mind, where like everything I see I feel like I'm supposed to do. I do think that God can like call you to go and do these certain things, but I'm like I'm just like
trying to find a healthy balance
of that.
I can see that,
because I feel like I just have a very unhealthy view of that right now. And I'm not saying God can't speak that way and that He hasn't spoke that way to me in my life, but like I don't know, like I don't know like what I can actually say like God told me to do this, or what I actually was just like feeling OCD about. That's just where I'm at. And exposure therapy, is that what it's called? That's kind of what I use to help myself in school. That's kind of what you use a lot in OCD. I think that's what's really recommended you can do. I'll just throw that out there.
Okay, one question that I have is,
I feel like this was so jumbly. I'm feeling like...
Are you feeling self-conscious?
Yes.
No. I will...
Okay.
It's okay. I feel like not all of us are like so eloquent and well-spoken. And I will say that about you and I.
Yeah.
Maybe it's part of our schooling. Like, we didn't do a lot of like giving speeches and that kind of thing. It's actually something I'm like really trying to work on, is like being better, more well-spoken. So I just hope that you can like give us grace as we're kind of like navigating through a more serious topic and like explaining it. And I believe that the Lord can still work. And I still think you did a really good job explaining it.
And I do want to say, like, I would love to chat with anyone who like would want to talk about it, especially if you feel like maybe this is something you have struggled with, and like maybe, or like you just want to chat about it. I'd be like more than willing to. Like, I would love to.
Okay, I have a question, because I feel like there will be a lot of people who watch this or listen to this that don't struggle with it, but could possibly see it in somebody in their life. Like, how do you think they should go about encouraging that person, especially if it's like a friend or a family member that's coming to them like in the trenches of OCD, and like speak to them in a healthy way that's not just like gonna trigger them even more?
It might be kind of hard to find in someone if you haven't struggled with it yourself, but if you're informed about it, then you probably can like notice it in other people more. But like, I feel like if someone is struggling with it, like, they need to know that that's what they're struggling with. Like, nothing you say is really going to help them until they know that, like, what they're struggling with is obsessive compulsive disorder. And that's just probably what I'm going to say.
I remember told you, I was like, well, I talked to Kirsten, my mother-in-law, and she kind of thinks it's this. And you were like, yeah, but I feel like it's something, this is like it's more spiritual than that. And I was like, well, it might be, but I was kind of like disappointed that you didn't look into it at all.
Yeah. So then there's me.
You ended up like finding that
through other resources.
And so like it might take them a little bit of time to like maybe come to that and to like realize, because it probably felt like so big that almost like labeling it OCD would like make the problem so much smaller or something, like when it feels like this big spiritual thing, and then it's like it's almost like you're downplaying it or something by like slapping OCD over it, but that's not really the case.
Yeah. The biggest thing is just for them to realize what they're struggling with, because of course it is encouraging and helpful to have people pray for you, and like, you know, you can sit down and talk to them, but like sometimes, I mean, just like with anxiety and depression, it's like sometimes you need to realize like what's actually going on. Like,
and for some people, like
there's an unhealthy balance in your brain,
and you might need to like seek like a medical therapist, and sometimes even like medication. Thankfully you haven't got to that point where you needed that, but I believe like those are good options too.
Yeah, definitely. I am not against those for seeking out true help and stuff. So that's just what I'm gonna say. And like, you might, if you see those patterns in someone else's life, like it is a really good question, I think, to ask someone, like, or even if you have a resource to send them, like, hey, just like I'll probably link this or have you link the podcast. It's only like 10 or 15 minutes. It kind of just goes over an overview of it. And like, it's a really easy, quick listen. I don't know.
And of course, like praying about it and like discerning like how to, like, I think the Lord is going to like, could use you to like speak into people's life.
And I'm not trying to like take God out of the equation by talking about like this guy's podcast who helped me, but like the Lord, like God does use people and like books and podcasts, I think, to speak into your life. And you don't, if it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if it has viewed, like it has changed the way I feel like that I view God, that I read the Bible in like a very healthy way. It's not like I'm trying to replace God with like resources. And that aren't the Bible.
And like, I think it is good that you're finding like Christian resources that from Christian people who are trying to help you in your relationship with the Lord.
And understand like where you're coming from.
So when you're looking for any book or speaker, of course, like match it up with scripture and make sure they're not, you know, saying anything that would contradict scripture. But I think that the Lord can really use like people and resources to help, especially with something like this. So
hope I will not be listening back to this. Not that I don't really listen back to any of our podcasts, but I feel like this was so messy.
No, it wasn't.
I don't really know how I would have did it any different. I feel like there's like I could probably talk for hours and hours and hours about this, especially like in a conversation with someone. Just so like, it's so like interesting to me, like learning about it. But
Well, thank you for.
It's like 9:30 basically.
Thank you for sharing this kind of vulnerable. And of course, like feel free to
DM me, message me
if you like know somebody or you're going through this. This is like a community. So we love to hear from you guys. I guess before I was going to address this, but I'm hoping by the time this episode comes out that we have a new logo cover photo. Really excited about that. Hopefully it might have like looked a little bit different if you're listening to this on the podcast to see like a new cover photo. So it's going to be really fun. We still need to pick ours out and edit
Maybe
it.
I'll look at some of this on the. Oh yeah, I'm going.
What?
Well, I've got to go. You'll hear about it on our next life update.
Going to Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.